This is Joe Biden. With a 36% average approval rating, the resident, who hasn't done a proper sit-down interview with the press in over 120 days, decided that the best thing to do would be to appear on late-night television, specifically with late-night funny man Jimmy Kimmel.
You know, they're very concerned that I might not ask you serious questions, so I don't want you to...
They really ask serious questions.
Yeah, right. When you have sensitive documents that you need to flush down the toilet, do you do that? Is that done in your office toilet, or is that done in the bathroom, in the personal bathroom area?
I call Trump.
This is referring to unproven reporting from New York Times journalist Maggie Haberman that, in my opinion, seems to have been made up to help sell her new book. Axios reports, while President Trump was in office, staff in the White House residence periodically discovered wads of printed paper clogging a toilet and believed the president had flushed pieces of paper. Maggie Haberman scoops in her forthcoming book, Confidence Man. Whoa, what a scoop, huh? I smell Pulitzer in your future, Maggie. Anyway, back to the Jimmy Kimmel Fun Time Hour, where Joe Biden blamed gun violence not on actual criminals, but on, oh, you know.
Why haven't we done anything about this?
Well, I think a lot of it's intimidation by the NRA. And look, this is not your father's Republican Party. This is a MAGA party. It's a very different Republican Party.
First of all, it's ultra MAGA. Get it right, Joe. Second, notice that Biden didn't elaborate on this so-called intimidation because it doesn't exist.
It seems like maybe the party has moved hard right, but I don't know that the people have moved hard right. Because people overwhelmingly believe we should have serious background checks. They overwhelmingly.
I would like to point out that in 2018, Joe Biden's son, Hunter, filled out ATF Form 4473 to purchase a firearm, and he lied when he checked off the box, stating that he was not an unlawful user or addicted to narcotics or controlled substances. So did Jimmy Kimmel, who was very concerned about background checks, address the fact that Joe Biden's son lied on his federal background check and was able to purchase a firearm when he was clearly not eligible? Nah, not the same thing.
Last time we did something serious about guns was when I passed the assault weapons ban. I was the guy that sponsored that, got it passed.
So to be clear, when Joe Biden says that I was the guy who sponsored the bill and I got it passed, he's taking credit away from the actual author of the federal assault weapons ban, Senator Dianne Feinstein. Funny how Joe Biden takes credit for things he had nothing to do with, but takes zero responsibility for everything that he fucks up. Anyway, Joe Biden is hoping that voters ignore all-time record high gasoline prices, 40-year high inflation, the ongoing supply chain crisis, a baby formula scandal, and all of his foreign policy blunders, including the withdrawal of Afghanistan and bringing America closer to a nuclear war with Russia. Instead, he wants you to focus on their current distraction, assault weapons.
It's got to be one of those issues where you decide your position on the issue, senator or candidate for House or Senate, on what we're going to do on us with assault weapons and how able to have 300 rounds in a magazine.
Yes, a huge problem in this country is that people are walking around with firearms containing 300-round magazines.
Can't you issue an executive order? Trump passed those out like Halloween candy.
Yes, sir.
I did. Isn't that something that could happen?
So for context, President Trump issued 220 executive orders during his 4 years in office. Joe Biden, on the other hand, has issued 90 executive orders in his first 16 months and 77 in his first year alone. That's more executive orders in a one-year period than every other president in history, but sure, Trump's the problem.
But what I don't want to do, and I'm not being facetious, I don't want to emulate Trump's abuse of the Constitution and constitutional authority. Well, guess what? If we do the same thing they do, our democracy will literally be in jeopardy.
Well, yeah.
Not a joke.
Well, if it was a joke, it wouldn't be allowed. It is Jimmy Kimmel Live after all.
I understand that argument, but also it's like you're playing Monopoly with somebody who, won't pass go and won't follow any of the rules.
So Kimmel is saying that Republicans are like Monopoly players that won't pass go. What Monopoly player doesn't want to pass go and collect $200? Great analogy, Jimmy.
And how do you ever make any progress if they're not following the rules?
Well, you got to send them to jail.
I thought that joking about putting your political opponents in jail was bad. At least when Trump did it. But yes, let's put them in jail for not following the rules. I.e., not doing what we want them to do. But so much for working across the aisle, Brandon. You're doing God's work. So if you want to talk about rule breakers, you don't have to look further than the Democrat Party, Joe Biden, and his failure of an administration who all want to eliminate the filibuster in the Senate, get rid of the Electoral College, expand the Supreme Court, make Washington, D.C. a state, and keep the southern border wide open to allow illegal immigrants to vote in elections. Those damn rule-breaking Republicans!
The problem is we have 48 out of 50 senators vote with me 95% of the time, more than any president has gotten that kind of support from their constituency. But we only have 50, and you can't get even 2, 3, 4 Republicans to vote.
Unfortunately, that's not true, considering that these 19 Republicans in the Senate voted for a $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill where only 10% of the spending actually went to infrastructure. Thanks, morons.
Look, here's where we are. We have the fastest growing economy in the world. The world.
Except that it's not growing. In the first quarter of 2022, gross domestic product in the United States shrank 1.4%. In other words, a negative GDP does not equal growing economy. That is a shrinking economy. And if the US has negative GDP growth 2 quarters in a row, that will officially mean that we're in a recession. And at this point, the question isn't if we're going to have a recession, it's a question of when.
We have 8.6 million new jobs just since I got in office.
If you're subscribed to the channel, and why wouldn't you be, you've seen me point out numerous times that these are not new jobs, these are recovered jobs.
Unemployment rate's down to 3.6%.
And under Trump pre-pandemic, the unemployment rate was at a record low of 3.5%. Under Biden, the unemployment rate of 3.6% has been flat for the last 3 months, and the number of unemployed persons was essentially unchanged at 6 million. And that's not spin, by the way. That's according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Okay, next clip.
We've reduced the deficit last year by $320 billion. This year, we're going to reduce it by $1.7 trillion.
That's weird because just a couple of weeks ago, he was claiming that he was going to reduce it by 1.5 trillion.
And this year, we're on track to cut the federal deficit by $1.5 trillion.
Biden is bragging that he's spending 1.5 trillion less in 2022 than was spent in 2020 and 2021 when the government blew out the budget on coronavirus spending. Wow, big accomplishment. Next, Biden started talking about gas prices and inflation.
Look, inflation is the bane of our existence. Inflation is mostly in food and in gasoline.
So instead of offering solutions to these problems, Biden decided to quote his dad for some reason.
You know, my dad used to say, every family needs a little bit of breathing room.
What?
My dad used to say, every family needs a little bit of breathing room.
I don't know who's running the country, but it ain't Joe Biden.
For example, our oil companies. Oil companies, instead of everybody says, well, Biden won't let them drill, they have 9,000 drilling sites that they've already owned that are there.
I have covered this topic extensively on this channel, including in this video. Link is in the description. But in short, they don't have 9,000 drilling sites. Joe Biden is lying. I know you're shocked. And instead of Biden being honest, he's going to demonize the oil companies and claim that they aren't drilling for oil Because they're greedy.
They're not doing it. You know why? Because they make more money not drilling and buying back their own stock.
So let me get this straight. The price per barrel of oil is near or at record highs, and gas prices are expected to hit $6 a gallon this summer. But Biden is saying that the oil companies don't want to drill because they'll make more money by not drilling. Translation, Joe Biden thinks you're stupid.
Here's what I think. Look, think about this. Look what impact the pandemic has had on people. It has had enormous impact, negative impact.
Yeah, thanks to Democrats.
Think of just your kids. How many of them got to go to a prom? How many of them had a graduation that got celebrated?
So when it comes to the negative impact of the pandemic, the first thing that pops into Joe Biden's mind isn't the massive education loss or the increase of adolescent suicide and drug overdoses. Nope, it's that kids couldn't go to prom or celebrate a graduation. Got it.
You turn on the TV, look at the ads. When's the last time you saw biracial couples on TV? When's the last time you saw the way, people are selling products, they do ads to sell products, and they sell products when they appeal to people.
So Joe Biden talking about whatever the he was talking about is a prime example of one of the Biden administration's biggest problems.
No question about it.
So there's a lot of major things we've done, but what we haven't done is we haven't been able to communicate it in a way that is, let me say another way.
81 million votes, guys.
Well, see, that's kind of perfect. Yeah, we haven't been able to communicate it.
But look how the press has changed.
Yes, it's the press's fault that nearly every time Biden gets in front of the camera, his message is overshadowed by some ridiculous gaffe. Here's some examples.
Now, here's what drives the driver in the states that are affected. Here's what you can do, the drivers. Don't panic, number one. Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. You know, if I can digress for just a second, last night I was on the television. I was on the telephone. You can control how big an impact Omicron is going to have on your health if you get Omicron. Now, I don't like to, outline the next steps we're taking against. I'd like to outline the next steps we're taking against the Omicron variant. When I raised that before, some of you looked at me like, where have you been, Biden? You've been spending too much in China or something. I haven't been to China. First is we're in power. That's the first thing. And you justifiably right, we control all three branches of the government. Well, we don't really. You know, I have to admit to you, a lot of us elected officials have been in office for a while. Every once in a while, something you learn makes you viscerally angry. Like if you had the person in front of you, you'd want to pop them. No, I really mean it.
You see? Totally the press's fault.
But here's the deal. One of the things is that it's very difficult now to have even with notable exceptions, even the really good reporters, they have to get the number of clicks on nightly news.
Mm-hmm.
Biden's rambling about clicks on the nightly news, and Kimmel's like, Great interview, Jimmy.
So instead of asking a question, anyway, it just, everything gets sensationalized.
Oh, I see. The problem isn't that Joe Biden can't get ahead of a crisis. It's that the press has changed. Because previously, before Biden, they were completely objective. And now they're sensationalizing stories.
But I'm convinced we can get through this. We have to get through it. And one of the things, look,
I'm going to take a break, and then we'll talk a little bit more.
I don't
if you don't
blame
mind.
you.
I'm sorry.
Man, you know it's not going great when Jimmy Kimmel has to cut you off to go to a commercial break. Sad, really. Anyway, on that note, that's it for now. Be sure to hit that like button, check out these videos that you definitely missed, and be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. As always, I hope to see you next time. If there is next time.